Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere east of the Pacific Palisades. Broadcasting to you there we go. This is working. Just checking to make sure we are, in fact, broadcasting in the places we are supposed to be. Please make sure you're following us in all the places. That would include Rumble, The New American Media, YouTube, The New American Media, Facebook page, The New American Media, X at American_media_. Please link up with us. Please leave your comments so that we can incorporate you into today's conversation. Today's conversation is going to be for Saturday, January 25th, 2025. I think I said my name's Brian Engelman, and this is The New American Media. I'm all akimbo. I don't normally do stuff on Saturdays, but I am doing the Agree to Disagree show. There's a lot happening. There is so much happening. And I want to make sure that we are connected and that we are sharing the most important stories. Let me just jump right into it. If you're not following the New American Media on Instagram, you're missing out. Go there. It's the New American Media. Subscribe. Hit the notifications, whatever you have to do. Share some of our content. Leave some comments. Engagement with the algorithm makes a huge difference. So please do. Let's just jump into the news. Here is an update on the border wall. Here, let's go ahead and click this and play this. Hold on. Volume up. Screen working. Here we go.
Casting out of El Paso, Texas, guys. Breaking news. I want to let you guys know that the El Paso sector has now begun building the U.S. southern border wall in downtown El Paso, Texas.
What are the comments? I'm still not tired of winning. Let's get it done. This is what we need. Important first steps to safeguarding our country. Safeguarding. It's kind of a strange word. Safeguarding. Guarding. What a beautiful wall, similar to the Finnish wall between Poland and Belarus, which saves Europe from thousands of illegals per day, probably more. Those are some of the comments. Let's continue.
Construction is mass underway, and there are dozens and dozens of construction workers and construction crews working diligently, guys.
What do you like to see?
Securing the southern border.
Southern. Safeguarding southern. My only problem with the wall has always been, what if it keeps us in and we have to flee under a totalitarian despot like Barack Obama and his underlings?
Breaking news, El Paso, Texas has begun the construction of the new border wall.
There you go. So, I mean, it did not take long for President Trump to get to work. Things are moving at a rapid pace. And that's why maybe it's important to show you some. Do you see my cat? Do you see my cat rubbing on the laptop here? Do you see him jumping into the show? Hi, Nimbus. He's saying, hey, man, you were in Washington, D.C. for the inauguration outside of the D.C. Gulag interviewing Ashley Babbitt's mother and the other J6ers that were getting released. I missed you for those couple of days. Well, you were okay, thank you. I'll give him a headbutt, but I don't need to be groomed. Thank you very much, buddy. But yeah, there's so much happening, and I do hope maybe today, maybe tomorrow. You see what he's doing? He's holding my hand. He's saying, pay attention to me. What up, Kenneth? Oh, here, let me do the overlay. Leave your comments, hit like, hit subscribe, please. Look at Nimbus. He's hitting like and subscribe. Kitty. Deb from Sacramento. San Francisco treat. Sacramento. A Sacramento treat. Remember that? What was that product for? Do you know?
President.
I think this was from I don't know when this is from. If this is very recent or if this is from, like, I remember he did RFK Jr. did a walk-in talk at the Libertarian Convention. I'm not certain if that's what this is. The comment here says 9/11 files next. Holy crap, yes. I mean, if you weren't shaken to your core by what 9/11 was, with an undying, unrelenting desire and drive to figure out who are the monsters responsible for that and ruining them. And if you think it's just Osama bin Laden, I think you're sadly mistaken. I really do think it's time to release that one next. 9/11 really took us on a dangerous place. Yeah, hit like, hit scratch, hit subscribe. But really, hit like, hit subscribe, and leave your comments. Rice-a-roni. I need to get a sponsorship deal from everybody that I shout out on the program. Okay, here's RFK Jr. talking about Trump releasing the JFK, RFK, and MLK files.
Trump.
You think that that's the right move to declassify those?
I think it's a great move because we need to have more
I think it's a great move because
transparency in our government. And he's
not to be a jerk. I do try to imitate the things that I hear, and it's a little bit like Helen Keller.
keeping his promise to have the government tell the truth to the American people about everything. President Trump.
You think that that's the right move to declassify those?
I think it's a great move.
Yeah, I think it is a great move. It says RF Kennedy Jr. 2024. So if this was from 2024, maybe this was old. But yeah, the files here from X other Bell Soul, whatever that is. Yeah, let's get the 9/11 files next. Hell yes. Can I get a hell yeah? I want to know what really happened. Deb from Sacramento's on X. When is Kenneth going to get on X? You're all following the New American Media on X. We are at American_media_. Here, let me show you where you can follow us in these places. Yes, and remember, on Telegram and Signal, we're at TNAM and TNAM Chat. TNAM and TNAM Chat. All right, here's the next one. This is, who is this? Royce White talking about Gavin Newsom regarding these apocalyptic Palisades fires. If you don't know, I used to live out there near Culver City, 20 minutes down the road from this stuff. I used to manage properties in the Palisades, and we lost, I think it was a complex burned to the ground that was 127 units. It's awful. And maybe we need to rethink putting sprinkler systems on the exterior of our buildings. Hey, if insurance is too expensive to get a policy these days, what if you added sprinkler systems to your roof that you could activate in case of emergency? We're talking conduit. We're talking piping. We're talking sprinkler heads. This isn't rocket science. You could do it with PVC pipe. You could do it with copper. You could do it with all sorts of materials. Whatever's cheapest and easiest. Anyway, here you go. This is Royce White talking about Gavin Newsom.
Pretty boy Gavin Newsom out of office. The reason we want him out of office is because when totalitarian dictators who throw ethnic and religious minorities in concentration camps make landfall in America, he cleans the streets and opens, welcomes them with open arms. That's why we want you out, pretty boy Gavin. Because when wildfires break.
Yeah. San Francisco, step over hypodermic needles. San Francisco, we made an app for human poop. No regard for keeping that beautiful city, that fantastic city. I have been fortunate enough to travel to so many great American cities. I love them. I love them. And I hate how the Democrats have sunk their claws in somehow. I don't think the people are really voting Democrat. I think they figured out how to collect enough ballots to stay in power forever. I don't think that's the case. I don't think the people of these great American cities actually vote to ruin their communities, to misappropriate the funds, to allow crime and disgusting filth. We were in DC outside of the Department of Corrections facility. Spoke with Ashley Babbitt's mom, spoke with several J6ers who were released. I mean, the whole street, all along the curb, it was like you were at a stock car rally. You were at a not bumper cars. What am I trying to say? What is that? Where you race the cars and you hit a demolition derby. Bumpers and license plates, shattered glass, shattered plastic, screws and bolts and chunks of metal and stuff everywhere. You're telling me not a single person in that facility could work every day, put on an ankle bracelet and go outside on a cleanup crew to clean these things up and take a little bit of pride in what you have? I don't care what you have. I moved into the hood in Los Angeles. The only dude in my hood, other than aside from the other guy that had a massive boombox and he used to walk up and down the streets and talk to himself, I was the only dude that looked like me in my neighborhood. Bought a little condo, piece of crap condo, blue carpeting, speckled ceilings with all the it wasn't asbestos. We got it tested. But I fixed it. I spent years fixing it, ripping up the carpet, refurnishing the floors, and taking out the busted windows and putting new windows in, painting the place, changing the light fixtures, gutting the bathroom and redoing the bathroom, doing the kitchen, keeping the structure of it, but adding new countertops and new doors to the cabinet doors. I worked on my homeowners association to fix all the stuff that was broken, all the planter beds. Bump, 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 bump. They'd be missing 5 or 6 bricks. All right, well, let's either go with our maintenance crew or let's go with our landscaping crew. Hey, Alan. Hey, Marie. Let's go ahead and fix this stuff now. Grab a stack of bricks. Let's go in and patch this stuff up. Boom, done. Why is this stuff all? It's empty. It's a cat litter box. Let's plant some succulents in there. Boom. Why is there a dead bush out front when you go from the sidewalk to the walkway up to the building? Rip it out, plant a new bush. Why is all the paint falling off? Well, we don't have money to paint the whole building, so let's at least do all the fascia. For $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, we could give the whole building a facelift instead of dropping 30, 40, 50 to do the whole building. Let's do what we can. Give a shit about where you live. That's not a class issue. It's about respect, self-respect. Now, to be honest, part of the problem was in my neighborhood, half the neighborhood was Section 8 housing authority. 2, 3, 4 generations of people living in this place. They have no equity. They don't give a shit. It's like kind of like a college kid's neighborhood. Yeah, you might throw all your trash out the window. You might have busted down furniture laying around, junky barbecue grills laying on the side. People in Los Angeles treated this area like it was a college dorm. And I said, hell no. I invested some money in here. I give a shit. I don't care that we don't have the money to fix everything. I'm going to fix as much as I can with what I got. The Department of Corrections in DC, missing letters off of their building. Fix the letters. You drive in here every single day and you take no pride. Of course, on the inside, cockroaches, brown water. It's just hell. And they're pushing now. Mike Lee is pushing to end home rule. I guess DC is supposed to be governed by Congress, but they've abdicated that. They've pawned it off to Democrats like Muriel Bowser, who declined Capitol Hill security. Remember when President Trump said, let's bring in the National Guard for January 6th, 4 years ago? And they said, nope. And then Trump said, hey, Pelosi, Bowser didn't agree to this. Bring in the National Guard. We want to keep things safe. She said, nope. All across the country, the people are revolting up to bust out and throw out all of these Democrat losers who let their cities fall to shit. Like he's saying, or this Royce White is saying about San Francisco. You let the trash pile up, homeless encampments, rampant drug abuse, human feces. They created an app to track human feces. Like if you're driving, you have a button you press and you go, oh, report a stalled car. They have an app to report piles of human excrement. But you know what? When China's Xi Jinping came over, oh, they cleaned up for that one day in that one area. Piss off, Gavin Newsom. Let's fix America's cities. And let's shatter these Democrat mayors and governors and congressional seat holders. Shatter these positions, shatter these people, their political careers, shatter the political careers of these blue mismanagers into 1,000 pieces and cast them to the wind. It's the only way forward.
Break out your woke ideology has you so handcuffed that you can't even give an honest and genuine press conference. That's why we want you out. Obama, you know, we don't want you out because you are allegedly involved in some pretty strange parties there in the Upper East Coast elite or wherever you guys hang out.
You mean Reggie Love? You mean, who was the one that Tucker talked to? There's a laundry list. They called him Bathhouse Barry. And now it seems like his marriage is on the rocks. That's the stories that are circulating. And so, of course, Jennifer Aniston goes on Jimmy Kimmel, and they're pumping this rumor out there. Anything Jimmy Kimmel and ABC, ESPN, Disney do, consider it to be an op. Now, I'm not saying they all are, but consider it to be an op. Maybe this is yet another smokescreen because Obama's too afraid to admit who he really is. I don't know. Yeah, beer can pyramids, Kenneth. I've made an improvement to my area. I built a pyramid. Yeah, Deb, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Deb, thank you for those kind words saying I'd want Brian in my neighborhood. I remember going a few buildings down, working with our landscaping crew, and this was about the exact issue I was talking about. Patches of the front yard that were gone brown because some of the sprinkler heads weren't working, so you had to dig up the line, replace the fittings, you had to replace the lines, get that up and going again. Sometimes they get clogged or overgrown, and you'd have to dig them out, and you'd have to pay attention. You have to brush your teeth every day. You have to pay attention and groom your property if you give a shit. But I remember being over there with our landscaper, and this lady came out. I can't do the neck thing. Complaining that we were planting succulents in the planter beds because it was all dead stuff or nothing, replacing the missing bricks so it doesn't look like you're in a slum. And she came out, F this and F you and F all of this, and we live here and we didn't tell you to. And she dropped a line that I will never forget. This is the ghetto, Brian. Maybe it used to be, sweetheart, but it ain't anymore. Yeah, maybe that's all it takes is somebody to give a shit. And you know what? That person is often maligned. That person is often given shit. Oh, and I faced plenty of it. Maybe because I didn't look like them. Maybe because they're so used to living in filth, they don't want it to be nice. Some people said, don't come over here gentrifying this. This is the ghetto, Brian. Brian or Brian. It's a 1-syllable or 2-syllable. Brian. Turn into a 4-syllable Brian. 4 syllables. Yelling at me because I wanted to fix some stuff up and clean some stuff up so the people could walk out their door with a little bit of pride, clean up the trash. We put dog walking stations with the bags and a garbage can right there because people would be in their cars. They just chuck their trash everywhere, just chucking trash. I mean, real scummy behavior. So let's make it easy to be clean and give a shit and take a little bit of pride in your life. I don't know. I've been gone for a few years now. I don't know what that hood looks like now, but I gave it everything I had while I was there. That's for damn sure. Thanks for the kind words there. Who let the trash out? Everyone, 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 everyone. Who threw the trash out their windows, out of their pockets? I mean, just insane. Deb saying Northern California needs water too. Many fires 5 years ago in Sacramento too. Yes, we're going to get to some of that because Trump has put some conditions on the rebuilding efforts. Let's go back to Royce White.
That's not the reason we want you. That is detestable. But it's conjecture. It's without evidence. What's not without evidence is, for some strange reason, America's been handicapped by this environmentalism scam.
Water thing.
The oceans are rising. They're the same exact. The oceans are at the same exact level in Ellis Island that they were when the first waves of European immigrants came through Ellis Island. The same exact level. And
by the way, we're a nation of builders. We're a nation of engineers. If there's too much water in one spot, how about we dig a massive hole and pump the water into another spot? Use your brains, people. Use your brains. If you can build the Hoover Dam, the Great Wall of China, there's nothing we can't do. Build the world's largest swimming pool and pump all the water in and balance it out if you have to. Engineer a better world. You don't do this through acting like a pirate and stealing everybody's tax dollars. But that's what Democrats do. That's what Gavin Newsom has been doing to ruin California.
The oceans are rising. Oh, my God. Dear God, the oceans are rising. But I can buy a $20 million property in Martha's Vineyard right on the beachfront. That's why we want you out, dude. You're a liar. You're a liar. I would rather you be a drunk. I would rather you be a drunkard than be the level of lies these people tell. I would rather you be drunk, honestly. Honestly, a drunk man will tell you the truth more than these people do. Seriously. I mean, it's disgusting. And we pulled out of the World Health Organization or the Paris Climate Accord. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? This is a strike and a blow against humanity. You know, if we don't get to AI ecto farms where the humans don't need to breathe or sleep or eat, if we don't get to the ecto farm robots where the humans don't need to eat, breathe, and sleep, then all of humanity will cease to exist under this climate catastrophe, this pending climate catastrophe. Oh, give me a break.
Yeah.
Pretty boy.
Please, give me a break. Now, let's talk about this. They are going after RFK Jr. because that's all they do. All the Democrats did for 8 years with Trump, the 4 years he was in there, all they did was obstruct. They didn't have a single good idea. All they did was get in the way of fixing the problems that they created. Done with it. Done with it. Bobby Kennedy can't get appointed fast enough.
In anticipation.
This is Jillian Michaels, and she walks you through a whole scenario here that's important to understand.
Of RFK's confirmation hearings next week, I'm already starting to notice more baloney in the zeitgeist. And there's one that I want to address in particular because it would seem unbelievably credible. This I'm referring to is the letter supposedly signed by 17,000 doctors that was organized by the Committee to Protect Healthcare.
By the way, doesn't that remind you of 51 former security intelligence of 51 former intelligence officials with the alphabet agencies of the CIA, etc.? They say that the Hunter Biden laptop has all the classic earmarks of Russian disinformation. Bunch of fucking liars.
Which would seem pretty credible, right? And this letter urges the Senate to reject Kennedy's nomination, citing his history of spreading misinformation about vaccines and public health intervention. So I thought, geez, really 17,000 doctors signed this? This seems crazy. So I clicked on the letter. And guess what? I signed it twice. One says Dr. Fake and one says Dr. BS. See for yourself. Anybody, anywhere, can sign this supposed letter repeatedly.
By the way, maybe Dr. Fake, she meant Dr. Fauci, that piece of crap.
So I personally, under two different aliases, am two of the 17,000 doctors that signed this letter. Now that seems pretty suspicious. So I wondered, well, who funds the CTP, the Committee to Protect Healthcare? Because they claim that they don't accept donations from pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, or other for-profit healthcare corporations, and rely instead on support from medical professionals and advocates. So who are these advocates? I asked ChatGPT. Pretty simple and straightforward. And it told me that two of these organizations that fund the Committee to Protect Healthcare would be the Hopewell Fund and the 1630 Foundation.
Who were they?
So I thought, like, okay, well, who funds these two companies and what are they about? Now, when you get all the way to the bottom of it, it turns out that this is all funded and organized by a group called Arabella Advisors. Now, Arabella Advisors Network operates as a, quote, dark money organization. And I'm not talking about drugs or cartel. I'm talking about the fact that they have tremendous political influence and they never have to disclose their donors. So they do, in fact, fund Hopewell and the 1630 Fund and other funds like the Windward Fund and the New Venture Fund.
How convenient.
These guys manage billions of dollars. Billions. Please search.
Also funded by... Hi, everybody. Well, if it isn't my good friend, Mr. McGregor, with a leg for an arm and an arm for a leg. Dr. Nick Riviera. Thanks, Kenneth. Dr. Nick. In the comments section here, just a couple of these, it says, you know that the medical cartels and the food processing cartels are afraid of Bobby Kennedy by the all-out attack on him. You know that the medical cartels and the food processing, same is true of Pete Hegseth as he's coming up on the vote. And by the way, they did approve of Hegseth, so he is getting his position. J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance, cast the tie-breaking vote. He's in. But yeah, they're going after Hegseth because at the Pentagon, he's pushing for audits. They've allowed pirates to steal your wealth and ring up a credit card tab of $36 trillion. This shit is over, people. Yeah, a great reckoning is ahead of these massively bloated, bureaucratic, wasteful, and corrupt departments inside the federal government. Lord willing.
This for yourself. Ask ChatGPT. Scale of operations. The Arabella Network manages billions of dollars in donations, making it one of the largest and most powerful forces in modern philanthropy. Its size and reach have raised concerns about its disproportionate influence on public policy and political processes. There are allegations of astroturfing.
Public policy, political practices. That is quite the the alliteration.
What the hell is astroturfing? Arabella managed funds sponsor numerous advocacy campaigns and initiatives that often appear grassroots, but are funded by the same network. This practice, known as astroturfing, creates the illusion of widespread public support for specific issues. The network frequently uses donor-advised funds, or DAFs, to funnel money into its projects. While legal, this practice allows donors to remain anonymous, further fueling concerns about transparency and accountability. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds shady as shit to me. A letter that anybody can sign with zero credentials as many times as they want to, that is claiming to have over 17,000 signatures by medical professionals, which I've already shown you is clearly a lie. And they claim not to take money from pharma or insurance, et cetera, but they're funded by the Arabella Network through different shell 501c4 and c3 companies who doesn't disclose who its donors are and who absolutely has an agenda.
This is exactly what our government has devolved into. The govern by fiat, the governed by secrecy, the governed by lobbyists, the governance by corporations, the governance by obfuscation through shady shit. It is exactly what our government has devolved into. And with any luck, we're going to get some sort of transparency and accountability now. But I'm really impressed with Jillian Michaels. Finally, and that's the thing. I want to talk about Jillian Michaels for a second. I want her to finish her point. I don't want to go too far afield here because I have a bunch of other stories I want to get to. This will be a more abbreviated show. If you haven't noticed, I'm trying to stay on topic and trying to crush because there's a lot to get to. You know, sometimes we don't know our impact, and sometimes it feels like we're just banging our head up against a brick wall. And sometimes you don't really know if what you're doing matters, but you know what? It does. At some point, something you say or do might encourage the next person to stand up and have another conversation, to stick their head up a little bit taller, become the flower that grows a little taller at the risk of being weed whacked. If we all do, you know, what are they going to do? They're going to weed whack all of us. So, you know, however Jillian Michaels got involved in this and finally found her voice and has really started coming out to help. It's just like the HOA. I'm not just one guy trying to do everything, although it really felt like that sometimes. I was constantly trying to recruit people to fill open positions and please help and fill in. Can you join a committee? Can you carry a couple buckets of water? We got to empty this swimming pool and put out this fire. I'm only one guy. Please help. Let's get pass a bucket. Let's go. So stuff like that. I mean, Jillian hasn't always been in this public space, and she's found her voice, and I don't know what we can attribute that to, but that's the point. You never know. So let's just keep going. Courage is contagious. It's a good phrase. Courage is contagious. I like Deb from Sacramento saying that funding sounds a lot like a plot from Ozark. No shit. Ozark was interesting. Jason Bateman and everybody. Yeah, the cartels and the money laundering. And I mean, our government has turned into it is organized crime. It really has. And Lord willing, we might be able to fix some of this and maybe continue it after the Trump term. But man, it's like nobody else was willing to stand up and do it. Everybody else just kind of found their way, and they just became a part of the machine. You can't operate in this machine. This machine is taking us off the cliff like holding the wheel in Thelma and Louise, right off to our certain deaths. This was our last chance, and we're starting to put a few things in place. And when Bobby Kennedy comes in, a lot of stuff's going to change, and I'm here for it.
Manages billions of dollars and strategically places those billions of dollars to facilitate its agenda. Give me a freaking break. In anticipation of RFK's confirmation hearings next week.
Okay, I think that's the end of her segment, but good on her. Good on her. Now, here's a clip of President Trump. I mean, look, President Trump, he was not just in North Carolina talking to people saying, you know, the insurance companies aren't working with me. Once again, we're getting a common theme here that the insurance companies collect all this money from us year after year after year, and you never use it. And then if you do actually use it, they try to decline your claims. And then you see this Luigi thing, and you're like, I'm not for vigilante stuff. And you go, but hold on a minute. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this problem. I hate to use the word systemic, because usually whatever else comes next is about trying to steal money from me or degrade me for things I didn't do or didn't say, or, you know, they have a systemic complaint and I just happen to be a token white, straight Christian male. So, you know, I'm the bad guy on every checkbox, every check mark. For every demographic reason, I'm the one that people should go after. Now, I don't literally mean everybody's going after me, because my voice is not as prominent as some of the top 100 voices yet. I anticipate it will be. That's why I've been doing this for 14 years. By the way, thank you to all of you supporters. You know who you are. The ones that have donated either through Patreon, patreon.com/thenewamericanmedia, or PayPal at Fuzz Installment, or on Venmo at Brian Engelman, BrianEngelman. But yeah, I do want to be in the top voices, the thought leaders. I'm I think I have something to add to the conversation. But yeah, when it comes to this insurance mess, we need to have a national conversation about this. And President Trump is leading the charge. President Trump was in North Carolina giving the microphone to the families, and they're telling story after story about the insurance companies that won't work with them. So I think they've set up a special liaison. I think that's what's going on, or some version of that, to work with the insurance companies to get some help. And so not only was President Trump in North Carolina trying to help fix that mess. Oh yeah, Kenneth. I was speaking about you in that regard. As always, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you. And I appreciate the jokes and the commentary and it's more fun to have a room full of fun thoughts and comments and interesting ideas to share. It's one thing to talk to a brick wall all day, but it's another to kind of play tennis with someone. You can hit a tennis ball up against a brick wall all day, but when you have someone to kind of, I was a tennis player. By the way, did you know I was captain of my tennis team? And I was Cleveland Plain Dealer Player of the Week for tennis somehow. I think I went 3-0 that week, 2 doubles wins and a singles win. I thought I had much better games playing football, but I got it for tennis. But yeah, you can hit a tennis ball up against a brick wall all day. It's not going to be, it doesn't do anything, but the interaction, you never know which way your opponent is going to hit the ball in tennis. So it keeps it creative. It keeps it fun. So yes, definitely appreciate you, Kenneth. Deb is saying, I vote to clone Brian 1 million times. This country needs more real men. Thank you so much. Appreciate the kind words. All right, let's get back to another boss. Donald John Trump showing up not just in North Carolina, he also shows up in Los Angeles in the same day. My God, what a hard worker. We are so blessed to have somebody that gives a shit, that's going to come in and try to fix some of this mess.
I'm glad Trump's here at the moment. It's like daddy arrived and he's taking his belt off,
So we're declaring this a national emergency. By doing that, I can give you immediate permits. I'd ask that the local permitting process be the same.
Finally, somebody who gets it.
Fast as we can, but we want you to be safe, and we want you to be back in your homes immediately.
But the people are willing to clean out their own debris. It doesn't cost a lot.
Yes, and they can.
You should let them do it, because by the time you hire contractors, it's going to be 2 years.
It's a good point.
I'm signing an executive order to open up the pumps and valves in the north. We want to get that water pouring down here.
Yes, finally.
We're only going to get $43,000 from the federal government, even if they have a $500,000.
You did something, Brad, where every insurance company in the country left California.
Why did all the insurance leave? There's a multitude of reasons.
That's why you have no insurance.
Right again.
You have so much.
And that's Rick Grinnell right there. Definitely playing a role in that. So is Joel Pollack from Breitbart. But yeah, Trump has been saying this for years and years and years and years and years. The amount of water that's coming into the northern part of California is almost unmeasurable. But they're redirecting it back into the Pacific instead of dropping it down into the fertile farmland that could be used to grow even more food for our country. What are they doing? This Delta smelt crap. Bring us the water. That's what that movie was about with Jack Nicholson. Not One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I'll look it up. He's the private investigator. Tip of my tongue. Here we go. But yeah, Trump is calling them out to their faces. Good for him.
Water. Use it and be happy about it.
Bunch of idiots.
We think within a week.
That's a long time, a week. I'll be honest. To me, everyone's standing in front of their house. They want to go to work and they're not allowed to do it.
Ding, 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 ding.
A week.
The movie is Chinatown, by the way. So they're like, yep, let's get going. She's like, I don't know, maybe a week. Because a week means, I don't know, I'll just kick the can down the road. And when a week comes, you go, I was hoping we could do a week, but maybe it'll be 2 weeks. Remember 1 week to stop the spread or whatever the hell that was with the Rona? 5 days to flatten the curve. Fuck off. You took that as far as you could. Year after year after year. You never allow these people to give you a wishy-washy can kick down the road. I don't know, maybe a week. No, how about today? That is too long. Absolute incompetence from this weird lady, Karen Bass, who I can't believe California voted for this person. No more Democrats ever. Shatter the Democratic Party into splinters. Shatter them into 1,000 pieces and cast them to the winds. No more Democrats anywhere ever.
It's a long
people
time.
To be safe.
They're safe. They're safe. You know what? They're not safe. They're not safe now. Boom. See, we're the party of common sense. You're not. You know, for
You see, we're the party of common sense, and you're not. They said, sir, don't be mean to Karen Bass, that little Keebler elf. But I said she won't let them clean their property. I got to give her hell.
I love this guy.
I'm glad Trump.
So yeah, I love him. Awesome stuff.
It's
here's a resident going off about the California fires and the California liberals on the Nate Friedman Show.
Mind-boggling that people continue to vote this way. I'm still trying to understand the masochism of liberals in California that pay the highest taxes in the country and get treated like shit. Liberals fundamentally feel guilty. So you have wealthy liberals in California that are like paying indulgences, like the idea of carbon footprints and all of this stuff. So as long as the politician is pro-choice and seemingly progressive, then that seems to be enough for liberals. It's mind-boggling that people continue to vote this way. I'm still trying to understand the masochism of liberals in California that pay the highest taxes in the country and get treated like shit. Liberals fundamentally feel guilty. So you have wealthy liberals in California that are like paying indulgences, like the idea of carbon footprints and all of this stuff. So as long as the politician is pro-choice and seemingly progressive, then that seems to be enough for liberals. It's mind-boggling.
There you go. I might have played that twice. It kind of droned on and I was going through the comments. But yeah, Deb saying she loved that Breitbart was represented. Yeah, if you go back on YouTube for the New American Media, I had an interview with Joel Pollack, 2019, 2018. Check that one out. And we actually got on the front page of the Drudge Report that was at the Cleveland, the RNC in 2016. We filmed a Daily Show producer trying to mock attendees of the Gay Republicans for Trump event. Milo Yiannopoulos was speaking. That was the day he was banned, back when being banned on social media was like, holy shit. And Joel Pollack was standing there. He's like, I'm not going to let you do this. He's like, you have to get out of here. He's like, this is public space. I don't have to go anywhere. And I'm not going to let you try to get these guys and chop up the video to make them say things that they weren't saying so you could do a little comedy piece and make our people look stupid. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stand here and I'm going to be in the way. And he got in his face, and the producer from the Daily Show gave him a chicken wing, kind of gave him a shove. And he's like, man, you better not get physical with me. You better not try to be intimidating with me. And like, we were there filming it all, and we put that piece up. What was it? Breitbart editor assaulted by Daily Show producer or something like that. It was one of our top viewed videos if you search that way. Yeah, I've interviewed Joel Pollack a couple times, and he's definitely a part of this conversation yesterday with President Trump and the leaders of California. Yeah, Bass, she's a Karen. Enough said. And agreed. No more excuses. No more excuses on this stuff. Trump did ride that mayor like a bull in a rodeo. Fact. So, yeah, I mean, this guy's kind of nailing it. That whatever mind control has these people constantly voting Democrat, it's done. You got to break the manipulation because they don't provide anything of value. Yeah. They just don't. Now, here's something to be concerned about. This is Larry Ellison and all this stuff. Let's just kind of hear this one out. This is from the Dark Horse podcast.
Larry Ellison, head of Oracle, advocating for personalized mRNA cancer vaccines, causes
very interesting.
A lot of people to be very, very concerned for good reason.
That is true. And as I've said, I don't have all the data on mRNA. I've seen a lot of negative stuff on it. And I can respect that is, I can respect that that's what a lot of people are saying. I don't know enough to say otherwise. All I do know is that I do have my pet, my buddy Nimbus. He stopped jumping recently, maybe a year ago or something. And he appeared to be in pain. He's an older gentleman. He's a 19-year-old kitty cat. One of the first things I did in Los Angeles was adopt Nimbus. And, he just wasn't himself, and he would try it. He would think about jumping, but he couldn't. He had no spring. And I was like, oh, no, are we on the way out? This is awful. I don't want to, because I'd had to, unfortunately, say goodbye. And with two of my cats, Aster and Halo, had to, give them one last gift to help ease their suffering. Just brutal. And I was like, no, don't make me do 3 cats in 3 years. This is just the worst. and I did some research in a bunch of the cat groups that I'm in on Facebook. If you're not in my group in Facebook, join it. It's called TNAM Animal Rescue, TNAM for the New American Media, TNAM Animal Rescue. Join the group, and if it says, why did you join this group, say, Brian invited me. Well, people said, hey, there's this thing called Silencia, and it's been, I guess it was approved in Europe for 10, 20 years or something for dogs, and it's recently been approved for cats, and a lot of people are like, hey, it's been working great, but this is mRNA. I don't know. It helps Nimbus. He's been with us an extra year. I mean, if you lose your ability to be ambulatory, you know, it might have been the end of the road for Nimbus with the pain and the loss of movement. And I'm very grateful that this thing exists. I wish I was able to administer it at home because I got to take it in and pay more to go to the vet. Whereas with, Halo, I was able to do the injections. I'd scruff the neck and I'd do the injections once a day or once a week, depending on what we were doing. I wish I could do that from home, but I'm a fan of the Silencia, but that is mRNA. But I respect everybody who says you better not do any of that stuff. I get it. I'm open to it. And to hell with any censors on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Meta, X or Twitter, any place that's going to try to censor me from having an open conversation about it. I'm an adult. I have a First Amendment right. You can go to hell if you're going to try to silence me, censor me, derank my content, demonetize my content, run me out of business. Fuck off. Kindly, fuck off. I'm done with this medical tyranny where I'm not allowed to have an opinion. Not playing the game anymore. You can delete my accounts. You trash company, YouTube, Google. You can delete my accounts. You trash company, Meta, Instagram, Facebook. Go to hell. I will speak about medical issues forever. I will never be silenced again like I did. I self-silenced. I self-restricted my conversation because it was so heavy-handed in 2019, 2020, 2021, 22. And in 2023, Blake kind of encouraged me to come back and start doing the shows, and I've been kind of going like gangbusters ever since. Never again. That's why prosecuting Fauci is so important. We cannot let him pull another AIDS stunt, another coronavirus stunt every 30, 40 years or sooner. Because if we let these people get away with what they've done, with gain of function, with the treatments being worse than the thing, allegedly, then they're going to do it again. So I don't know how many more breaths I have in my body, but I'm going to fight against that censorship forever. Anyway, she's continuing talking about Thomas Massie, representative of the great state of Kentucky. He has concerns as well.
But then Thomas Massie today tweets this: seed oil lobbyist will be chief of staff at USDA. Kaylee Buller will serve as chief of staff of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Most recently, Kaylee served as the president and CEO of the National Oilseed Processors Association and the Edible Oil Producers Association.
Everything I've read recently is that seed oil is poison. Canola oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil. Actually, let me type. What are the names of the bad seed oils? Canola oil, corn oil, cottonseed oil, soy oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, grapeseed oil, and rice bran. Oh, rice bran too. These are the 8 industrial toxic seed oils. Rice bran too. Wow. Industrial seed oils are the highly processed oils extracted from soybeans, corn, rapeseed, canola, cottonseed, and sunflower and safflower seeds. Industrial seed oils, everybody. And so this guy getting promoted to this position, that is danger, 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 danger. Deb asking, I have a feeling Elon is going to buy Google and fix this mess. Any ideas, Brian? I think Google could be splintered. I think the monopoly they have created with Google YouTube, I think there could be some antitrust breakage there. Keep your eyes peeled on that. Also, as far as Elon, I've heard that he is legitimately considering buying TikTok. President Trump was asked about that. And he said, I have the ability to cut a deal, and I'm looking into it. My people are looking into it. So we'll see. I don't know. But yeah, Google, YouTube, I mean, they deranked my content so people can't see it. I mean, I got 6,500 subscribers. I mean, I used to get the views I was getting were fantastic. I was monetized and I was like, okay, well, if I triple the amount of content that I'm putting out, I could triple the amount that's coming in and I might be able to do this for full time. Yeah, shortly after they kneecapped me and made sure that I was not able to talk about literally the exact same stories that ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, CNN, they were all allowed to talk about the same exact stories. But when I talk about the Ariana Grande shooting at that concert, they said that the subject matter is unsuitable. And every story on the side where the recommended stories, every story was from those companies I just read off to you. They called them authoritative sources. Fuck that. Authoritative sources. They were all about the Ariana Grande concert shooting. You can listen to these people talk about what happened, but I'm not allowed to for some reason. I just wonder where the new American media would be had we not been subjected to the amount of unconstitutional civil rights violations that we have. Oh, but Brian, these are private companies. They're allowed to do that. They're private companies. No. Section 230 says you have protections. You have legal protections because you're a platform. You're just a platform, like a telephone company. You're not responsible as a telephone company when someone makes a phone call and discusses or plots illegalities. So that's what we are. Look, we're just Facebook. We're just YouTube. We're just Instagram. We're just Twitter. No big deal. No big deal. But when you function as a censor, you become a publisher. When you're a publisher, you are now open to critique and legal issues. So they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. And I got caught up in the crosswinds. And yeah, I don't know where I would be right now if there was an even playing field. But you know what? I'm chugging ahead. I'll be on Patreon, dropping content. I'll be on Rumble. I'll be on X. Those are helpful platforms. Truth Social, the new American media. Spotify, the podcast, the Agree to Disagree show. But yeah, it's gain of rumption. Didn't you type rump shaker up here before? You got rump on the brain. Deb saying coconut oil is good. Yeah, coconut oil is good. Avocado oil. I know there's a seed there, but I think avocado oil is fine. That's one of the good ones. Coconut, avocado, olive, and real butter. Go for real butter. Okay, no more gain of. So yeah, you got rumps authoritative. If you never give up, you can never fail. Well, I mean, but you got to call an audible. Look, I mean, if what you're doing isn't working, you have to try something different. I think that's just smart. If you're playing a football game and you keep running the ball and they just keep stopping you, maybe it's time to start passing the ball a little bit more. Then that might open up the run game. So I've opened our content up to different networks. I have. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I think we do good shit. Deb saying, yeah, they did that to Mike's channel too. Yeah, they did. They've done this to everybody, and it's bullshit. All right, back to this here.
So that's not good.
No.
And, we don't see anything in the executive orders about Maha. Maybe it's because Kennedy hasn't been through confirmation hearings.
Yeah, we need to get Kennedy through his confirmation hearings immediately.
Yet, but then behind the scenes, we have these appointments that do not bode well.
Yes, and a meeting between Trump and Bill Gates also concerning. But anyway, yes. We'll see. Let's give the man some room in light of all the positive things that we've seen.
Yeah. Larry Ellis.
Yeah, I mean, but, my buddy Anomaly, he, he's been very critical of President Trump with the Project Warp Speed and stuff and the vaccines and the people that have been in his administration. And it looks like he's bringing some pretty bad people in. I want Bobby Kennedy in there before we're doing any of this stuff. Don't talk to Gates. Don't talk to Ellison. Don't talk about seed oil manufacturer people coming in. Get the hell out of here. I want Bobby Kennedy in immediately. let's push Trump right now. If there's one thing that President Trump does well, he reads the room. If we start shrieking about this online and tagging him, he's going to accidentally see some of these tweets. And I think it's important. Get Bobby Kennedy in for Maha immediately and let him handle the vaccines. Let him handle the seed oils. Let him handle the highly refined sugars and the highly processed foods that are poisoning all of us. I don't want these lobbyists. I don't want Bill Gates anywhere near this. Ellison, what a creepy Vincent Van Gogh looking. Who does he look like? He looks not the Crypt Keeper. He looks like Salvador Dali. Creepy little mustache. I get a creepy vibe from that guy. I don't know much about him. Anyway, here's a report from Alex. What does he have to say here?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday night. Trump is moving on so many fronts, over 500 major actions devastating the deep state. I can't even keep track of it.
It is almost impossible to keep track of it. Yeah, you got to go with new strategies. Bill should be locked behind a gate. That's good. Deb saying anomaly, pretty boy, love him. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I've hung out with AJ many times, several. And if you type the New American Media in anomaly, ANO 0 MALY, you'll find me sitting and talking with AJ. I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. I filmed other content for him, like at the music conventions and stuff, and Politicon and Conscious Life Expo. Like back when I lived in LA, we'd kind of team up and partner up on some projects. And you know, I enjoy hanging out with AJ. But yeah, go check out those interviews. But yeah, I was gonna say hanging out with AJ, and when I interviewed Scott Pressler at the 2024 Republican convention in Milwaukee, also on YouTube and Rumble. Salvador's Deli. Scott Pressler and AJ, they're both, I don't know, 6'4". They both have this long, straight, dark hair. They've got like that vision of Jesus thing going on, tall, skinny, dark hair. Oh my gosh, you cannot walk 4 steps with these people without somebody running up to them, recognizing them. Oh my gosh, I love you so. Thank you. Hey, can I get a picture? I mean, these two are superstars. They just have it. I remembered bartending at the Oscars in Hollywood. Used to do all sorts of hospitality staffing, and I walked past Gwen Stefani. I walked past Halle Berry, and I could probably list 50 others, but those are 2. Katy Perry. I could probably list maybe 50 or 100 others, but those 3 just jump off right off the top of my head. Around them, they had a radiant aura. It was almost like like a halo of sunlight was circling them. They were glowing. I was there to see it. I don't know a better way to describe it, but like when you walked past, you're like, whoa. It was palpable. And it's the same thing, hanging out with AJ and Scott Pressler. Both interviews you can find on YouTube and Rumble. Type it in. Yeah, every 5 seconds, somebody coming up to him and patting him on the back and taking a selfie. And, oh, you're so great. Yeah, they definitely have it. So you're not alone having a thing for AJ there. He cut his hair. How short did he cut his hair? I don't know. I haven't seen him in a minute. I was talking to him to try to book him on an agree to disagree to kind of like sit and unpack. And I don't know that I've ever had him on agree to disagree. We're usually like either a one-on-one at the NAM show a couple years ago, like we did a sit down when it was Ron DeSantis versus Trump and kind of going for the Republican nomination. But a lot of, I wonder how short he did cut his hair. But yeah, I'm going to see about bringing him back on. We tried to, and we got to find the right day that works for both of us. Yeah, a little bit of that Jesus effect. Neck length. All right. Maybe it's the neck length. All right, back to Alex. Sorry, I saw your comment and I went off on a little sidebar. Here we go.
But I just saw a report a little while ago from Steve Bannon, and I looked into it. It's absolutely on target, that Trump is using something that hasn't been used in a long time by presidents, but it's in the law and the Constitution, called impoundment. Impoundment. And I'm about to show you what Bannon was saying. where there's over 300 billion of the $1 trillion of the new Green Deal scam, where the Democrats just give it to their friends and then build no infrastructure. It's just a huge cloud and boondoggle to collapse the country while they enrich themselves.
Pirates.
And there's 300 billion still unspent. So under the law, the new president can freeze that money and not let Congress use it for all the windmills and scams and transgender DEI BS, and get it back into border security and the military and taking care of veterans and paying down the debt and just doing so much more. This is massive. This is what happens when you get a president in power that actually cares about the people. This is seismic impoundment. And they're saying there's hundreds of billions of other money in there that they had in slush funds that Trump is now going to move in and impound. This is massive. This is how you take it to the deep state, cut off their money they tried to put in piggy banks for themselves, not thinking Trump knew about it. He didn't understand this 8 years ago. He knows now that they put all this money away for themselves they can direct around, but not when he's aware of it. This is so huge.
It is. And so I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled for that. Continuing on here, make sure you're following the New American Media on Instagram, the New American Media. But yeah, we get some good stuff that we share each day. And I just said, you know what? Maybe I could do daily shows if I don't overthink the show prep and I just share with you what we put out on Instagram each day, because we put mainly dank memes as standalone posts on the TNAM Instagram page. But each day we follow some great accounts. And by the way, anybody like the right-winged angel here and everyone we share the content of, just like their page, like their profile or like their account. Because then you'll get some of that stuff direct. I try to take the best of the best, the most interesting stuff, condense it, coalesce it, combine it, and then deliver it. So yeah, it's been a little easier to do these morning shows now because I'm essentially sharing all of the research I've done throughout the day with these video clips. And I just splice them together and deliver them all in one data dump. But this was big. Stephen A. Smith going on with Bill Maher. Both Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith they're coming around a little bit. And let's applaud that. You know, I wish they would have done it sooner. It would have been helpful. All this Trump's a Nazi stuff. It's just so stupid. So stupid. Deb, all right. Well, yeah, that's the other thing. I need to get back to booking special guests. I have a laundry list. If you go through the people we've had on the New American Media special guests, have you ever been through the archives? Kenneth, Deb, anybody else? If anyone else out there, hit like, hit subscribe, share the content, hit the heart button, hit the thumbs up emoji, whatever interaction thing you can do, leave your comments. But if you guys ever been through our content, like typed in and scrolled through our most popular videos to see some of the big names that we've talked to, I really do want to get back to booking guests. But once again, you know, there's only so many hours in the day. And it all takes time. But yeah, I do want to go back and get some of these special guests. I think I need to get John B. Wells back on the show. He was one of my better guests over the years. He's been doing a good job on Coast to Coast AM back in the day, but now he's on Caravan to Midnight. Yeah, I do need to reach out to him. I don't know what I'm waiting for. He and I were in development stages with the show on BBC, and BBC kind of changed the management. They changed the structure. They went from lean in television, like conspiracy related stuff, to lean back stuff like reality shows and game shows. So the timing didn't work for our show. It was going to be called All American Conspiracy. But yeah, I need to get John B. Wells and other people back. So yeah, book AJ, book all of these people. Barack used impound mic instead of impoundment. Okay, let's hear what Stephen A. Smith had to say here. Good on him.
Yeah. The man was impeached twice. He was convicted on 34 felony counts. And the American people still said, he's closer to normal than what we see left.
By the way, these 34 felonies were not felonies. These were misdemeanors, and they weren't even misdemeanors. This should all be sorted out on appeal. Just being able to say that is so stupid. Just because you say the word insurrection a trillion times doesn't mean that happened. It was a protest. It was a mostly peaceful protest, and then some people did some things. If that were an insurrection, weapons would have been used. It would have been an absolute disgusting bloodbath, and it wasn't. It was a mostly peaceful protest. That was the rattlesnake shaking its tail. So no matter how many times you say 34 felonies, they weren't felonies. They were misdemeanors trumped up, and they were past their statute of limitations. None of it should have ever happened. None of it should have ever gone to that. But that's how desperate and corrupt the Democrats are. Destroy the Democrat Party, shatter them to 1,000 pieces, and cast them to the wind. Never let them near a position of power ever again. They have lost the will of the governed, and they never deserve a chance back in the public square ever again. That party needs to be absolutely tossed into the dustbin of history. So as Stephen A says, 34 felonies. I just wanted to add that caveat, but he's making the point, even with 34 felonies, the American people said, yeah, you're a lot better than whatever the Democrats are putting out there. And he's right. Here we go.
That's what they're saying. He's closer to normal. Why? Because something that pertains, when you talk about the transgender community, for example, and you're talking about the issues that pertain to less than 1% of the population, the Democratic Party came across as if that was a priority more so than the other issues. And so he comes into office. Now you're talking about childbirth, citizenship, and what have you. He knows that's not going to pass the mustard, but he knows that he made that promise. So when he shows up week 1 on Capitol Hill and he says, this is what we're going to do through an executive order, even though it's going to be shot down through the courts and what have you, he's saying, I kept my promise. A lot of other things that he's going to point to that he's going to try to do. I kept my promise.
By the way, quick point there. I'm not certain. I don't agree with Stephen A. Smith. Why would somebody who's not a citizen get to pop into the country, crap out a kid, and then take off and go, yep, that's a citizen? I don't think they have the legal standing to keep that like they think they do. Stephen A. Smith is making a very sweeping generalization. They're making an assertion on something that I don't think he's right. I think he's incorrect there. The birth tourism, I had a lot of insight into this at Cedars-Sinai. I had a lot of insight into this birth tourism thing. Some Saudi comes in, they hang out for a week or two in a hotel. They knock it, they pop out a kid. Oh, you're a citizen. They get on their jet and fly back. Like, that's not a citizen. That's not the intent. You want Americans to be American. You want Americans to come from Americans. You don't encourage and incentivize people to sneak in the country so that they can have an anchor baby so that they can then in turn try to get on the welfare system to start getting resources and Social Security and healthcare and this and that and the other. I think children of citizens become citizens. So Stephen A. is making another assertion there I'm disagreeing with. And you know what? I think I do agree that the courts are going to have to really examine this for real. There have been some efforts to look into this, but I don't think it's received the full attention it deserves because it's a big problem. It's a magnet. It's a gravitational force that's attracting criminality, and I think we need to stop it, but that's another point I'm going to disagree with Stephen A. on. He continues.
Then you turn around and you look at the left and you say, what promises did you keep? Now, you might know the answer to that. I'm certainly not questioning your knowledge about that at all. What I'm saying is what resonated with the voter. What voter out there can look at the Democratic Party at this moment in time and say, there's a voice for us, somebody that speaks for us, that goes up on Capitol Hill and fights the fights that we want them fighting on our behalf. They didn't do that. And that's why their behinds are home and that man is back into the White House. And they want to sit up there and talk. You look at the networks right now, they're talking about, look at it, this is the latest, look at him, here he goes again. Well, you know what here he goes again means? He's doing what he said he was going to do. He promised you he was going to do these things, and he walked into office week 1, and that's exactly what he's doing. And he's saying, y'all do something about it. And when you try to do something about it, he's going to say, look at them now. Now they're concerned about these issues. Were they talking about that during the campaign? Hell no. That's really it.
Yeah. Well, yes.
Well, look, here's the deal.
And by the way, that was an applause break right there. Shame on the Bill Maher producers for not putting the applause button up because they're trained SEALs. You know, if you've ever been to a taping, I lived in Hollywood for a long time. Like I said, Los Angeles, technically right by Culver City. But yeah, if you've gone to these tapings, they flash the applause button. The producer knows when they drop it, that moment, they flash it. They want the crowd to really do that. So shame on the producers for not giving him that moment of crowd participation there because people are behind what he had to say. They're absolutely onto something there. One of the comments here from the right-winged angel that put this out says, this was beautifully articulated by Stephen A. Smith. He's right. Democrats have no one fighting for what the majority of their voters want. They have been catering to the radical left. The radical left! They've been catering to the radical left for so long, they forgot about the normal left. Yeah, all the cool lefties have joined MAGA. Because MAGA is the party of common sense. You can be libertarian, you can be left-leaning, as long if you're into common sense, you're in MAGA. MAGA is not the Republican Party that has been almost equally as corrupt, some would argue, and I wouldn't push back on much of any of that. Trump had to dominate the Republican Party before he could dominate the entire system, before he could dominate the globe. And thankfully, we do have some common sense coming back. Not everything is going to be perfect, and that mRNA thing and the warp speed and all that I got plenty of concerns, and we'll cover that. But yeah, they've been catering to the radical left so long they forgot about the normal left. President Trump is a man who is for the people and continuing to fight for what we want. He's the kind of man that we want in the White House. All right, here's another one. This one says the truth comes out. We're on the verge of the RFK, JFK, MLK files. We'll see. It says the 60-year, who's this from? American Values PAC. It says the 60-year strategy of lies and secrecy has accelerated the subversion of our exemplary democracy by the military, medical, industrial complex and pushed us further down the road toward totalitarianism. That's a quote from RFK Jr. Bobby Kennedy also says JFK warned that that's his uncle. JFK warned that the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are as a people inherently and historically opposed to secrecy. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. I did read that. Okay, the 60-year strategy of lies and secrecy, disinformation, censorship, and defamation employed by intel officials to obscure and suppress troubling facts about the JFK assassination has provided the playbook for a series of subsequent crises. The MLK and RFK assassinations, Vietnam, 9/11, the Iraq War, Iraq, and COVID that have each accelerated the subversion of our exemplary democracy by the military, medical, industrial complex and pushed us further down the road to totalitarianism. A nation that does not trust its people is a nation that is afraid of its people. A government that withholds information is inherently fearful of its citizens' ability to make informed decisions and participate actively in democracy. Thank you, President Trump, for trusting American citizens and for taking the first step down the road toward reversing this disastrous trajectory. Well said, I think. We posted this along with a comment that said derp, D-E-R-P. Remember, here's John Kerry. Here's the type of people that they groom to be secretaries of state. John Kerry, Hillary Clinton, all these derpy people. This guy ran for president. We almost had Lurch as a president. Some would argue Bush wasn't better. Okay, fair. But listen to the type of crap he was spewing in 2009. And ask yourself if you bought into this a little bit, somewhat, totally. And ask how you feel now. Do you feel duped? Do you feel dumb because you listened to the Democrats? Because all they were doing was running a pirate scheme to loot and plunder your doubloons, to loot and plunder your resources, to run up a credit card debt while you weren't looking. This green new scam is, in fact, a green new scam. Here's John Kerry, formerly the Democrat policy bearer in 2009. Do you remember this one?
In 5 years, scientists predict we will have the first ice-free Arctic summer. That exposes more ocean to sunlight. Ocean is dark. It consumes more of the heat from the sunlight, which then accelerates the rate of the melting and warming rather than the ice sheet and the snow that used to reflect it back up into the atmosphere.
Remember
in 5 years, scientists predict.
So just keep that in mind. Here's another one from Andrew Schultz. He put one out that we talked yesterday where he's yelling, "What's in my arm? What's in my arm?" Here's another one. Just kind of laying it out why Democrats lost the plot.
That last one about the gender reassignment surgery for kids, it's like, that's even higher, right? We're going, okay, trans adults, you're like, okay, it's their body. They can do whatever they want. Like, yeah, they shouldn't compete against women, but like, you shouldn't, I'm not against you doing what you want with your body. And then they're like, all right, should kids be able to do it? And you're like,
your kids, without telling you.
Without telling you. And you're like, oh, they certainly won't do that. Like, they certainly won't defend a kid not telling you that he's taking hormone blockers when he needs to ask me if he can go to the museum on a school trip.
Yeah.
Like, he needs my signature for him to take a sex ed class in school, but not to grow tits at 14. Like, you certainly will push back against this. And they go, no, we have to protect these kids. You're like, okay, Trump is going to be president forever. And then after enough, that last one about
Trump is going to be president forever. By the way, the proposal has been made to lift the 2-term policy for president, by the way, something you might want to keep on your radar. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but, you know, it can be debated, and it is being debated. Not sure it has any sort of groundswell of interest. But if Congress isn't going to have a term limit, and it can be argued that Congress should have term limits. Deb's saying it's 15 days to the release. Okay, so what is that exactly? It's 15 days to the release of what? And then it's 45 days to release RFK and MLK. Okay, so JFK is 15 days, and then in 45 we get RFK and MLK. Kenneth saying, John, scary. Yeah, I recall a Halloween costume of mine. I wore a military outfit, and my girlfriend at the time, she very talented, and she made a bunch of badges and pins, medals, medallions. We kind of sewed them and stitched them onto like it was like a Heinz ketchup trophy. You know, he married into the Heinz family to get his wealth. Yeah, I think on the back it said Scary Kerry. Yeah, John Kerry was absolutely scary. And even back in those days, I saw through his bullshit. That's not to say that, you know, George Bush was fantastic, Bush Jr., G-Dub. But yeah, I had no interest in John Scary Kerry. Green New Deal discarded. Yay. Okay, so JFK is going to be released in 15 days. But once again, that's like, are we even going to believe the stuff that they put out there? They said, sir, we've investigated ourselves and found that we did nothing wrong. A lot of people say we did nothing wrong. And now believe our files. So, you know, there's going to be that question forever. I'm hearing that it's going to show that the deep state, the CIA, was pushing Kennedy to allow a false flag attack from our own government on American soil so that they could blame it on Cuba so we could invade Cuba. And JFK said, get the hell out of here. And they blew his head off. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I've been hearing that. We'll see what actually comes out. I'm kind of saying that Trump might already be on his 3rd term. Yeah, I've heard people suggest that. But I do know this much. If Trump stayed in office last time, things would be very different right now. I mean, we'd be on to the next president, actually. And I don't know that that would be a good thing. It almost took the groundswell of pushback of Barack Hussein Obama running his full and most honest agenda through the puppet Joe Biden for America to really see what these Marxists are up to and go, we hate everything about all of this. Go to hell. No. Please, Trump, come back. It would have been a 4 years of obstruction, but now it's kind of like he's got the mandate and he is running with it. Jack Posobiec, I don't know if you guys caught it, but earlier this year when President Trump went to speak in the Bronx, oh, sorry, hold on. What am I doing here? There we go. I did have the opportunity to report for Real America's Voice in the Bronx outside of the Trump rally. And I had a chance to speak with Jack Posobiec on his program, give a couple reports. That was a neat opportunity. First time doing that. Tough to hear the live feed and all the noise and a lot of moving parts, but it was a good time. Anyway, Jack Posobiec here is saying in his post, did you know Karen Bass got her start in politics in the Venceremos Brigade, a Marxist front group in the U.S. funded by Cuba? Now we're back to Cuba. She traveled to Cuba many times to Cuba. The Venceremos Brigade directly spawned domestic terror groups, the Weather Underground and May 19th Org. Did you know that? Did you know that about Karen freaking Bass? Yes, Gulf of Tonkin, 9/11, the Lusitania. How many events were false flags used to push us into perpetual warfare? The deep state is addicted to warfare. We should be addicted to rooting them out and stopping it. We can form partnerships with Greenland and Panama and Canada without having to go to war with them. But once again, we're back to Eisenhower warning us about the military-industrial complex. It's out of control. I like innovation. I like developing new stuff. But we have to push a war in Ukraine, said Victoria Nuland, Barack Hussein Obama, and Joe Biden in 2014. And let's start a war with Russia. We'll keep advancing toward their border and saying we're going to join NATO. NATO is essentially, I think, just an anti-Russian organization. Ukraine trying to join that anti-Russian organization said, you're never going to do that and get off of our border. They wouldn't. The U.S. kept pushing, and Putin finally launched and said, get out of here. One of the many theories being they have so many stockpiles of old crappy weapons. You need to sell them to ourselves to give them as foreign aid so they can explode them in this area so that now the military-industrial complex would be forced to create new stuff so that the U.S. could buy new stuff so that we could later start another war and then use our old stuff to explode in that area. By the way, hundreds of thousands dead, millions maimed, severely injured. How many lives have been ruined because of this? There's a better way. There has to be a better way. There has to be a better way. And I'm curious, President Trump, it's a story that I don't think is in my stack today, but he's telling the Taliban, I want my materials back. I want what was left in Afghanistan. Give it back. And allegedly they're saying no. Keep your eyes peeled on that story. I would not be surprised in the least bit to see us go get that stuff one way or another. And I don't think it would be all that complicated. Kenneth, you talking about Cuba? You talking about Cuba? Kenneth, I feel like you have an encyclopedic knowledge of The Simpsons like I do. I appreciate that. Deb is saying that Trump is fulfilling God's timeline for our country and our world. Well, we gonna find out. We gonna find out. Let's see what Misfit Patriot says. Channeling his inner salty libertarian, holier than thou pious leftist, doubting rhino conservative that wish we would have had little Ronnie D, Ron DeSantis, or Nikki Haley instead of Trump. Misfit Patriot says, can you guys believe that Trump hasn't fixed every single problem the Democrats created over 4 years in the past 5 days? What a failure Trump is. All he's done in the past 5 days is visit 2 disaster zones and sped up the recovery, released over 1,500 political prisoners, secured promises of hundreds of billions of investments from foreign nations, spoken to the press more times than Biden did his entire presidency, negotiated a hostage deal in the Middle East to bring home the innocent and tortured victims of terrorists, dismantled the racist DEI policy that's been in place for decades, got Putin to state that he's in favor of ending the war in Ukraine, and declassified the JFK, RFK, and MLK files. What a failure Trump is. But, you know, eggs are still expensive, so he's totally unfit for this job. Feel free to add anything I missed. No, I think you summed it up pretty well. Good job. Yeah, people don't think it'd be like that for some people, but it do. That is exactly how some people act. This is a heartwarming story. ICE, Immigrations and Custom Enforcement, has removed an accused child rapist who illegally entered the U.S. 4 times. Adios. Don't let the door hit you or the good Lord split you. This is from State of America 1. Indio border agents. That's Indio, California. I'm very familiar with this area, by the way. I used to go spend a lot of time out there. Indio Border Patrol agents from the Premier sector stopped a vehicle on I-40 near Barstow. We were somewhere outside Barstow. What movie is that from? We were somewhere outside Barstow. And they found 3 illegal aliens, 1 armed and carrying a large amount of cash. Let's arrest and remove all of them, please. Mute this. Mayor Karen Bass, she says, thank you, President Trump, for coming to Los Angeles to help us rebuild. We are grateful for your partnership. Let's go to the comments. Mary says, I didn't like the tone you took with real Donald Trump at all. You'll find he's not a soy boy or a DEI hire, and he won't put up with your Marxist tactics. Tammy said, he lit you up for your mismanagement. Why didn't you post that? The Dibster says, remember, voter ID, because voter ID is going to be a condition for all of this investment from the federal government. If you don't have voter ID, and if you don't release that water back to all these farms and the people that need it, so the reservoirs can have an overabundance of water forever, you're not getting that aid. Good. And I think someone brought it up, all the mismanagement, that the money's mostly going to get stolen and filtered off to some Soros-backed non-governmental organization, an NGO that's going to actively try to, disrupt and destroy things. I think President Trump said to Rick Grinnell, like, let's get a special, by the way, I think that goes back to Joel Pollak. I think Joel Pollak brought that up. And I think President Trump said to Rick Grinnell, hey, let's appoint a special master to make sure that all of this money is going to the very specific things that it's supposed to be. But there are conditions, like the Dibster says. Remember, voter ID is needed in California. Democrats will never win another election ever again if voter ID is in place. That's my hunch. Brian commented, Trump doesn't hate Democrats. Neither do I. I just like me. Neither do I. There we go. Just like me, I'm perfectly fine with people calling me names as long as they take a deep breath, see that my goal is just to get important stuff done. If you simply empower conservatives to do what we do, you'll see how generous we are. Brian says, voter ID and water. Don't forget. Michael says, guess he's not literally Hitler, is he? You're such a clown. So it's good. People getting ratioed is important for success in America. This is Pete Hegseth. In case you want to feel better, just know that Secretary of State Pete Hegseth is about to conduct the biggest audit that the Pentagon has ever seen. He will tell us everything. Hence, this is why the neocon warmonger senators, such as idiot Mitch McConnell and other senators, opposed his confirmation. Here he goes.
Also been a leader on the Pentagon audit for a very long time. I think when we met, Senator, I said 2014 was the first year. We discovered a 2013 op-ed I wrote about the need for a Pentagon audit, because an audit is an issue of national security and frankly, respect to American taxpayers who give $850 billion over to the Defense Department and expect that we know where that money goes. And if that money is going somewhere that doesn't add to tooth and instead goes to fat or tail, we need to know that. Or if it's wasted, we need to know that. So I think previous secretaries of defense, with all due respect, haven't necessarily emphasized the strategic prerogative of an audit. And myself, my deputy SecDef, and others already know that a Pentagon audit will be the comptroller, others central to ensuring we find those dollars that can be used elsewhere legally under the law inside the Pentagon. So you have my word, it will be a priority. You've also...
And there you go. Typical liberal comments. Let's see what happens when Pete follows the money. We spend more money on national defense than anything. We're going to find out exactly where our money's been going very soon. Yeah, check the Biden crime family. We could maybe start there. So yeah, it's time to indict the pirates who are bankrupting America. Way overdue. Speaking of overdue, here's another one. First off, Deb says, that was a great idea, managing that relief money. Oh, yeah. Trust but verify. That's a Reagan principle. That's a California principle of years gone by, of yesteryear. Deb saying, Trump's just moving his chess pieces. It's called negotiating. And Kenneth is commenting about the Pentagon audit. Yeah, Penta gone. Where's that money? It's Penta gone. Hey, remember when the Pentagon got hit? But we still have never seen video? 9/11, remember that? Too soon? We allowed to talk about this? Here's a good point from Uncle Ted. Listen to him. He's smart on this topic.
Somebody finally got their head out of their ass and admitted that we have constitutional carry, but we have to get rid of all slaughter zones known as gun-free zones. Yes. A gun-free zone is an infringement. I seem to remember a document that says shall not be. So Texas needs to lead the way, and in many ways they are. But my greatest heartbreak with my fellow ranchers and sportsmen and conservationists is that the Texas Parks and Wildlife are completely out of control and acting like a California game department, where they're slaughtering healthy deer by the thousands under the lie of chronic wasting disease. The Texas Parks and Wildlife organization is infested with animal rights people and anti-hunting people, and they're out to destroy the conservation heritage of this state, and they should be ashamed of themselves, and we're going to put an end to that. So somebody...
Look, Uncle Ted, we need reciprocity. Nationwide reciprocity. There's nobody that has the right to limit our Second Amendment. I don't know how it's gone this far, but it needs to end.
Ruled out.
Now, here's something interesting. I'm not sure how you feel about this, but what caused the fires? Is anyone talking about the cause of these California fires? Sure looks like a lot of people have been arrested for arson, but how did they start to begin with? What happened in Maui? Well, here's one take.
The governor says he can't get a straight answer out of anybody.
I want to get the answers. And I wasn't getting LP Canada with you. Wasn't getting.
Direct energy weapon.
Notice you flying over the helicopter. Those chasing the groups. He didn't do it.
Not burning in LA.
Ruled out.
So, look, and I saw President Trump allude to something like this recently about the cause of these. I don't know, but it's something to keep an eye on. A lot of smart people are asking these questions about DEWs, directed energy weapons. Let's talk about this one here. Let's talk about the missing kids, shall we?
Thousands of them that we know. And that number has started to already come down, Emily, from 300,000. So they found about 75 to 80,000 of those kids already. If they can get the list of these guys, 4 full days in office for Trump, if they can get the list of where some of those kids have been, and they've been identifying it, since the election, going after them and trying to find those little ones, what in the world was Biden's administration doing? What was Secretary of Homeland Mayorkas doing when he said to the committees on Capitol Hill, we don't know where those kids are, I'll look into it? No, dude, you obviously had a better way to find them, and you didn't do your job. I can't believe they impeached him and didn't remove him. It's just incredible what a little competence can...
So, it's pretty obvious, perhaps, what the Democrats are up to. Here's Trump talking about earlier this year, what was going on with FEMA in North Carolina. By the way, if you haven't checked out our documentary, Hurricane Helene, Help on the Way, Blake Wally and I traveled down to North Carolina. First, Southern Virginia into Tennessee, and then a guided tour from Grizzly, who took us into these ravaged areas to make donation drops. It's brutal. It's brutal. I don't know what FEMA exists for if they're not all hands on deck. What in the world are they actually doing? Where are the priorities? They should have had team after team after team after team, nonstop 24/7. Instead, well, here's what Trump has to say about it.
Earlier this year, FEMA kicked 2,000 North Carolinians out of their temporary housing into below freezing temperatures. What was that all about? You know about that? What happened? Tell me.
We had an incompetent administration under Biden, and we had a disaster, and then we call it the disaster after the disaster. That was the FEMA response.
You had nothing but disaster since then. It doesn't matter at this point. Biden did a bad job. Some residents still don't have hot water, drinking water, or anything else, and many of them don't have quarters. They don't have anything. They got a stipend for what they lost, and we're going to take care of it. This is totally unacceptable, and I'll be taking strong action to get North Carolina the support that you need to quickly recover and rebuild. Earlier this year.
That's what it's like to have a competent president that gives a shit about you. We're, in a way, we don't deserve them. We don't deserve them. But, here we are.
We consider you a danger.
Here is Steve Bannon. Is that Ben Berkwam? He was there in D.C. I kept seeing him and getting next to him. I didn't have a chance to talk to him. I talked to him in Chicago and a a couple other places, but they're on the phone with Tyler Burleson here. Why was he jailed the day before Trump arrived? What's that all about?
What did they say specific? Why are you a danger to the county given everything you've done? And President Trump happens to be coming on a topic that you brought to national and actually, quite frankly, international global attention, sir.
Oh, because I'm trying to expose everything that they're not doing. You know, they set up the armory, and they're not helping even a quarter of the people that we're helping. I mean, one of the officers yesterday told me that we have literally not done anything for our community, when you can clearly see it, and the numbers show it, and our paperwork shows it. That, you know, we support 60 to 120 people a day. And he looked me in the eyes and told me that we were not doing anything for our community, that the county did more for everyone than we did. And I think that's part of the problem. Is they're
and by the way, we took reports. A lot of them wanted to stay off air for the documentary, but they were saying it almost turned into a hot conflict with FEMA, telling relief workers on their own, Good Samaritans, militia members. Militia just means first responder. We're all militia members. Don't ever let anybody try to tell you that's a bad, like a 4-letter word, a bad name. You should, you know, pride is a sin, but you should take, you know, full accountability of being a militia member. Every able-bodied man and woman is a first responder to a disaster. And FEMA was coming in there trying to help, trying to tell the locals, sheriffs and whatnot, and all these volunteer agencies, they can't go here, they can't do this, they can't do that. I can't quite remember if they said weapons were drawn, but they definitely said it got heated after taking that as a threat from FEMA, and there were counter threats being made and warnings from the rattlesnake shaking its tail saying, you had better never say something like that again or ever block our relief efforts, or else we're going to consider you to be an enemy and we'll take appropriate action. It got heated. It got hot. And the specter of the FEMA incompetence and malevolence was hanging heavy over North Carolina when we were there. That's for damn sure. I can verify that. But a lot of people did not want to go on camera and say that for fear of retribution. But that was a story that was echoed throughout our time there.
They're trying to stop us from exposing that.
Why they consider you a danger? What did they say specific? Why are you a danger to the county given everything you've done?
Okay, I think that's just the repeat. So they jailed this guy. I don't entirely understand that story, but there you are. Libs of TikTok, this is must watch. I guess I can mute this. Javier Milei just delivered the most epic speech at the WEF, World Economic Forum, slamming. Well, I will read the transcript while he talks in a different language. These forums promote the LBGT agenda, trying to force us to accept that gender is purely self-perception. They're silent when a man poses as a woman and kills his rival in a boxing ring, or when a male inmate claims to be a female and ends up assaulting women in prison. Just recently, a global news story broke about 2 American men who waved the flag of sexual diversity, but were sentenced to 100 years for abusing and filming their adopted kids for over 2 years. Let me be clear. When I say abuse, it's not a euphemism. Extreme gender ideology is simply child abuse.
Por lo tanto, quiero saber quién avala esos comportamientos. Están dañando irreversiblemente a niños sanos mediante tratamientos hormonales y mutilaciones, como si un menor de 5 años pudiera prestar su consentimiento a semejante cosa. Y si ocurriera que su familia no está de acuerdo, siempre habrá agentes del Estado dispuestos a interceder en favor de lo que ellos llaman el interés del menor. Créanme que los escandalosos experimentos que hoy se realizan en nombre de esta ideología criminal serán condenados y comparados con aquellos ocurridos durante las épocas más oscuras de nuestra historia. Y cubriendo esta multitud de prácticas abyectas está el eterno victimismo, siempre dispuesto a disparar acusaciones de homofobia, transfobia y otros inventos cuyo único propósito es intentar callar a quienes denuncian este escándalo de que las autoridades nacionales e internacionales son cómplices. Por otro lado, en nuestras empresas, instituciones públicas y casas de estudios, el mérito fue dejado de lado por la doctrina de la diversidad, que implica un retroceso hacia los sistemas nobiliarios de antaño. Se inventan cupos para cuanta minoría se le ocurra a los políticos, que lo único que hacen es atentar contra la excelencia de esas instituciones. El wokismo también ha distorsionado la causa de la inmigración. La libre circulación de bienes y personas están en los fundamentos del liberalismo. Lo sabemos bien. Argentina, en los Estados Unidos y muchos otros países se hicieron grandes por aquellos inmigrantes que dejaron sus tierras de origen en busca de nuevas oportunidades. Sin embargo, de intentar atraer el talento extranjero para promover el desarrollo, hemos pasado a la inmigración masiva motivada no desde el interés nacional, sino desde la culpa. Como Occidente es la supuesta causa de todos los males de la historia, debe redimirse abriendo sus fronteras a todo el mundo, culminando necesariamente en una colonización inversa que se asemeja al suicidio colectivo. Así es como vemos hoy en las imágenes de hordas de inmigrantes que abusan, violan o matan a ciudadanos europeos que solo cometieron el pecado de no haber adherido a una religión en particular. Pero cuando uno cuestiona estas situaciones, es tildado de racista, xenófobo o nazi. El wokismo ha calado tan profundamente en nuestras sociedades, promovido por instituciones como esta, que se ha llegado incluso a cuestionar la idea misma de sexo a través de la nefasta ideología de género. Esto ha derivado en todavía mayor intervención estatal mediante legislación absurda, como el que el Estado tiene que financiar hormonas y cirugías millonarias para cumplir con la autopercepción de ciertos individuos. Recién hoy estamos viendo los efectos de toda una generación que mutiló su cuerpo, promovidos por una cultura de la relatividad sexual, que tendrá que pasar su vida entera en tratamiento psiquiátrico.
Who now need lifelong therapy. This is hard to read. I don't know if you've ever tried to do this. This is hard to read in like little blurts of verbiage. It's fun though. Now it's led to lifelong therapy to cope with
psiquiátrico para afrontar lo que se hicieron, pero nadie nada dice de estas cuestiones. No solo eso, también han sometido a la inmensa mayoría a ser esclavos de las equivocadas autopercepciones de una diminuta mayoría. Y además, el wokismo pretende secuestrar nuestro futuro. Porque al dominar las cátedras de las universidades más prestigiosas del mundo, está formando las élites de nuestros países para impugnar y negar la cultura, las ideas y los valores que nos hicieron grandes, lesionando aún más nuestro tejido. Desde estos foros se promueve la agenda LGBT, queriendo imponernos que las mujeres son hombres y los hombres son mujeres solo si así se autoperciben. Y nada dicen de cuando un hombre se disfraza de mujer y mata
and kills his rival in a boxing match. Okay, that's what happens. It reversed itself and wrapped around. Javier Milei on the world stage, everybody. This one's interesting here from the State of America One. It says Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, reportedly restricts Elon Musk's access to the president and denies him a West Wing office, citing him as an easy target for Democrats. As Doge's chief administrator, Musk is also required to report directly to Wiles. I like this. I think a little bit of restraint is a fantastic idea in this case. Here's President Trump letting people speak about the disasters in North Carolina and the abuses that these people have endured. In her words.
I'm a pastor in the EXO church right down the road. We had only purchased in May, and it's a big church. We're a small congregation, and I had people say, "What are you going to do with this big building?" And I said, "Only God knows." And we had our dedication, and the storm came the next week.
Wow.
And the outpouring of people. My son brought the first load of supplies, and from that.
And by the way, that is exactly what we did. I'll call you out, Kenneth. People like Kenneth donated. People like Cassie, people like Amber. Geez, I think we were able to donate $650 cash to Grizzly, who was leading this caravan of vehicles, this massive horse trailer of supplies, donated supplies, went down to these areas ravaged. We stopped it at one location, we stopped at a church, we stopped at it, like we just kind of kept finding stops, and then they were taking the supplies and redistributing them out. Yeah, I know redistribution is a bad communist, Marxist, socialist buzzword. You got to be wary of redistribution, but the people on the ground know best. And so, yeah, we went to some churches that were destroyed, and they talked about, all right, so from here, people take our ATVs, all-terrain vehicles, across washed out rivers. They washed out the bridges, and people trapped on the other side, they're delivering them, life-saving supplies. We also had donations. It's all in Hurricane Helene Help on the Way at the bottom. We had donations. I went and sought out Lowe's. Lowe's was a great, they would have loaded up a semi truck for me if I had the room. I filled my 4Runner to the brim. Water and what am I trying to say? The big tubs of industrial cleaner. What word am I looking? Disinfectant. I'll just go with disinfectant. Headlamps and gloves and this and that and piles and piles and piles and piles of stuff. Advanced Auto Parts donated items. Dick's Sporting Goods donated items. And we took all that down there. So she's talking about the outpouring, and it's like we saw it when we got there. I mean, they had all these outdoor tents in this mud-washed, huge parking lot. This church on the edge of a little creek, it flooded several feet up. They were going through, cutting all the drywall out, scraping and scrubbing with disinfectant and bleach, and just trying to kill the mold. And they got to rebuild. I mean, it was harrowing. And there's so much work that needs to be done. How about it? How about we find a way to take nonviolent people sitting in jails, say, hey, would you like to go, we're going to set up some tents or some RVs, maybe some mini homes in these parking lots. You wear an ankle bracelet, but you can be outside contributing to society. And, for every day you work to help clean things up and get the infrastructure back, all hands on deck, we'll take time off your sentence. Where are these ideas? Where's the idea to buy out a farmer and say, Mr. Farmer, you have a couple acres here. What is your farm worth? You look it up and says, well, I reckon it's about such and such. All right, well, you said about $4 million. I'm going to make this offer to a couple of farmers, and I wanted to kind of get your thoughts first, right of first refusal. Would you sell this to us for double what it's worth? $8 million. We want a place to build a Muskville, a Trumpville. We want a new subdivision here that's going to honor the land and eventually, definitely keep producing, food, whether it's animals, whether it's crops. But we want to put tiny homes here. We want to build earth ships here. Build an RV park with this is where people are going to get their lives in order. Build a subdivision on half of it and leave the other half as a functioning farm. Let this farmer hit the lottery, get his paycheck, and then this could be staging grounds to help people get out of what are we doing in hotels? Like we don't own the equity in hotels. And as people get on their feet and get back into their homes, we can then use these RVs to go into the next disaster area. Where are the bright ideas, the great ideas here to rebuild? Anyway, don't get me started. But yeah, she's talking about how the community stepped up. And yes, I saw it firsthand. The community stepped up, but they need the federal government to step in and help.
I stayed there for about 3 months. I slept on the floor for about 3 weeks because the need was so great. The people were so devastated, and I said, I want to be here for them. And they were coming in just day and night, so there's really no need for me to go home. But we had people from Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas, Indiana, Oklahoma, people from all over.
And by the way, I don't recognize this. I mean, this could have been her church for all I know. I don't know. I don't think we went to Sawanau, North Carolina. But yeah, Blake came in from Tennessee. We came in from Kentucky. That hit home. That's kind of exactly what we were talking about. We did what we could with what we had. And by sharing the story, we're hoping that more people can say, God, we need more hands on deck. We got a problem here. Deb saying militia just means independent patriot. Absolutely. Deb saying that's a great idea, Brian. Kenneth saying Brian's needed in Doge. I have some ideas, and I intend to reach out to the administration and to Elon. Look, if you go to the New American Media and type in Earthships, look up the New American Media Earthships. I did documentaries on Earthships in Taos, New Mexico, 640 acres off the grid, self-sustainable. They catch their water and they contain it in in back buried cisterns. That water's pumped in. It comes to their faucet as drinking water. Then from there, it's filtered once and it goes into the greenhouse. In the greenhouse, it runs through the greenhouse where it's growing food. That water is then filtered and pumped back into the toilet as gray water. Then it's used again. Then it's pumped outside into the leach field where you can grow shrubberies and trees and fruits and vegetables and stuff in the brutal New Mexico desert, where it would be 130 degrees in the summer in the dirt and dust, or it'd be 30 degrees below in the bitter cold of the winter. If you build smarter properties, subdivisions, I've always wanted subdivisions of Earthships. I want to do that in North Carolina. Make this eminent domain thing. The thing they try to do is they try to destroy your property and buy it for pennies on the dollar. Fuck that. That's piracy. But if anyone through eminent domain is offered the chance to say, hey, would you like to hit the lottery? What's your home worth, sir? About $300,000. What if I gave you $600,000 to give you the opportunity to pick a place that might suit your needs maybe a little better? Because where your property sits, it's in a spot that we'd like to do a thing. Now, if they came in right off the bat with lottery terms, I would have a much different opinion on kind of going in and taking property, eminent domain. But they don't do that. They try to screw you over. And then the instant reaction is, hell no, line in the sand, you better get off my property. But if you go to a farmer and say, hey, if you don't take this offer, I'm going to offer it to a few of the others around here. Some of these farms are 3 acres, some are 30, some are 300. You know, we're open to all of them. But how would you like to double your investment? And we'd like to honor your property, keep half of it intact forever as a farm. And so these people that live here can work on the farm and try to keep it, you know, maybe we could even hire you back to oversee it. But we could certainly use some staging grounds for all the people devastated in your community. Shit, that's a win-win-win. Farmer gets to keep farming, gets a payday, and it helps the community with at least a temporary, if not a permanent solution. Maybe you give these people Earthships for life. Maybe they get to live off the grid, because when you dig down into geothermal, you don't need a heating bill. You don't need a cooling bill. When it's 130 and when it's negative 30, it stays between 60 and 70 without heating or cooling. God, add a couple $100 to your pockets every month because of the ridiculous cost of energy. That's a win. You have an indoor greenhouse where you're growing some of your own food. That's a win. You're catching your own rainwater to keep in multi-thousand-gallon cisterns right behind your home, dug into the side of the hill where you back bury it. You dig down and use geothermal with the sunlight going through the panes of glass on your greenhouse, southern facing. It's brilliant. It's win-win, win-win-win-win-win. We're going to win so much. Frankly, we're going to get sick of winning. I think it is a great idea. I would do it. I would love to join. If not Doge or FEMA or some hybrid, I would absolutely love to assist. Deb saying people need to be proactive with great ideas than reactive. Yeah, more proactive with great ideas and less reactive, pointing fingers and placing blame. One of the songs, Deb, Kenneth, did you know I am a musician? Did you know that I've written songs? And one of that's, type it in the comments, please. One of my songs is called 3 Pointing Back. And it's about when you're finger pointing, you have 3 fingers pointing back at yourself. If you go on YouTube and type 3 pointing back, twist of nothing, it came out good. I think we got a pretty good recording of that song out there. 3 pointing back. Yeah, pointing fingers and placing blame. Blake and Brian, the good old boys. Deb, you could say that generally. Deb said she did know that. Okay, you did know that. You both knew that. But have you ever heard the song 3 pointing back? It's on YouTube. 3 pointing back. The band is Twist of Nothing. Here, I'm going to type in the comments. Twist of Nothing. 3 pointing back. What are the lyrics? It started with the breakdown, a misconception, simple failures of perception. It's just a situation where we can't see past our own goals of where we want to be. Well, it's not my fault that I'm not perfect, but it's yours for asking me to be. But I won't hold that all against you because I would not want that done to me. So anyway, check that one out. I think it's pretty, it's appropriate. All right, here we go. Let's hear the rest of this lady's story.
I've not received any help like from the government or anything. But I said, Lord, if you want us to do that, people.
So they came from
all over the states.
But FEMA did nothing. It was the locals. Wasted time and money.
The locals and the people that knew us. And before the week was over, our church was so packed with supplies we couldn't even walk. Even in our sanctuary, it was up to the platform of things, and in our halls and in our rooms, and we're just now beginning to get a little straightened out. But somebody said, how long are you going to be here? I said, I'm going to be here through the winter and even on, if possible, because when you meet people that's been through the struggle, I had a little lady come up, and
you can almost hear what I like to watch body language. I like to listen to the timbre, the tone of the voice. It really sounds like she's about to cry. Like I've expected her to choke up several times. Maybe that's just how she talks, but that's what I'm hearing.
I said, can we do anything special for you? And she said, I don't want to be selfish, but said, could I have a cup of coffee? And I handed her that coffee, and she stood there and tears just poured. She said, you don't realize how important the little things. It's not the big things in life that we have, but it's the little things and knowing that God is our source. I don't look to man. I don't have to have a lot of things. I had trees, about 20 trees down in my yard, but that didn't really matter. Doesn't matter, because the needs of the people is what I want to be there for. God is good. He's very good. And my daughter now, her house.
Tell me why we can't just buy out Camping World, buy every RV, draw a 200-mile, 500-mile radius around this area of North Carolina, buy out every tiny home, every little RV, medium-sized RV. This is now FEMA property. And anytime there's, and this will be held at your FEMA camps across the nation, be held at Air Force bases, and build another barracks, build another hangar, and you deploy them, you drive them, you keep them for people in need, and you deliver them to all the parking lots where people need them, and you section them off, you rope them off. This becomes their new home for as long as it takes. What good does it do using hotels? Why don't we have the existing infrastructure to deliver 100 RVs so the families can at least, I got a place to use the restroom, I got a place to lay quietly, I have a desk, I have a refrigerator, I can do this, I can do that, I can shower, whatever. There's not enough facilities, there's not enough hotels in these areas. Why don't we have a fleet of RVs, tiny homes, to help these people?
Is really in bad shape.
Anyway, that's her story, and it is heartbreaking. A couple of other odds and ends, and we'll wrap this up here on the Agree to Disagree show. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, please leave your comments below, and subscribe to us on Rumble, The New American Media, YouTube, The New American Media, Spotify, The Agree to Disagree show, on X at American_media_ on Truth Social, the new American media, and on Signal and Telegram, TNAM and TNAM chat. This is Jamie Kennedy saying that you were
the first person ever told me in this town, that you like Trump.
Oh yeah, not like loved him.
I know.
Harland Williams. He goes, I didn't like Trump. I loved him.
Oh, I don't know. Can I say that,
dude? Yeah,
you love Trump.
See, this is what bothers me. We live in
a
in a free country where we have to ask if we have to ask if we can. Yeah,
not because of me, but because I don't know if you want your beliefs out there.
I do want my beliefs out there.
Good.
It's important. It's important that we all have our beliefs out there.
1,000.
And the fact that some people aren't allowed to voice their beliefs is preposterous to me. So ask away.
But I've never heard you publicly until right now, and I love that you did that.
Oh yeah, I actually went on stage with the MAGA hat on a few times.
What year?
In Hollywood. The first time he ran.
Wow, good for you.
And remember, I'm Canadian.
So you can get away with some of it.
No, but I didn't move to the freest place in the world to be told how to think or what to decide. When I go into Baskin Robbins with a friend, I don't let them pick my flavor. I pick it. This is a free country. That's why people come here. And the fact that half the country's terrified to say how they feel is shameful. It's sad. And it's also shameful that one side, whoever they are, would put that on another side. We're all on the same team, man.
You were the first person ever.
That energy is everything. I love everything about that. A couple quick points here. I did want to make a point about that. What did he say exactly that reminded me? I think it speaks for itself. We'll let it go. Benny Johnson reporting that this is breaking. Kristi Noem has been confirmed by the Senate as the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. All right, check. Got that one. On to the next one. Kristi Noem. I didn't know she was. I don't know. I think she was on the short list for vice president. And then I think that autobiography with her and the dogs. I think it just. Was JD the right pick? I don't know. We're going to find out. I think JD's done and said some pretty good things so far. But Kristi Noem, she's Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. And my, oh my, is this going to be a super important position as we lock down the human smuggling, the human trafficking, the deliveries of fentanyl. It's just poison. Fentanyl's just poison to kill Americans. This is all right. Governor Noem. Kristi Noem. I always want to call her Kirsty Noem. Don't know why. Maybe it's because she doesn't have an IE at the end of her name. My brain wants to invert the letters. Kirsty, but it's Kristi Noem, Department Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. So Homeland Security Secretary. There we go.
Would pay for this kind.
Okay. So here's Josh Hawley talking to Kristi Noem about CBP1 app. In illegal aliens, what's the deal?
And of concierge service for illegals, I think is outrageous. Will you end the use of the CBP1 app?
Yes, Senator, if confirmed, and I have the opportunity to be secretary on day one, CBP1 will be shut down.
And by the way, it has already been shut down. Thank you.
There's data and information in there that we will preserve so that we can ensure we know who's coming into this country and who's already here.
Yeah, you better preserve every ounce of data. And anybody with the cell phone, they got GPS. I mean, let's go. Let's go. And I do sort of feel bad for some of the people that thought they were doing something that was allowed. But that's what you get for trusting Democrats. Democrats are destructive demons. Not the people that vote for them. I think a lot of people are well-intentioned, good, well-meaning people. But the party leadership is so bent, so backwards, so broken. Like I said about the Democrats, they must be destroyed as a party, splintered to 1,000 pieces and cast to the wind. But yeah, save all that data and round up everybody that you can. And when you send them back, you say, I'm not going to apologize for doing our job in America under the Trump administration, the MAGA agenda. But you might have a legitimate grievance with the Democrat Party that lied to you and used you because they thought they were going to be able to strategically move you into positions to turn purple states blue, to turn red states purple or blue. to replace all the people that left Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco during COVID tyranny, because they know that they even count illegal aliens on the census. And if we can't claim that many people are still here, up to 30 million illegal alien invaders, if we can't dump these millions of people strategically into places, think of Springfield, Ohio, getting 30,000 Haitians for some reason. No shared culture growing up rooting for the Ohio State Buckeyes. No shared experiences going to games or tailgating or any of it. No rooting for the Bengals or the Browns or the Indians or the Reds. Just here's a bunch of random non-Americans that are now roaming your city. That's not assimilation. That's not what anybody envisioned other than Barack Hussein Obama, Soros, and his open society. So I would never apologize for sending these people out, but I would tell all of these people, we have a way of doing things here, and the Democrats lied to you for political power and control. If you have any grievance, it's with those people that used you. You used me, Skinner. You used me. So anyway.
We need to go find, but also we make sure that there's another program, CHNV, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, where our federal government actually paid to fly people into this country directly from other countries without any vetting or knowing who they
Not even vetting people. They made it hell on us if we didn't take their forced jab. You can't be in the military. You can't fly on a plane. You can't be out in public without wearing a face diaper. You can't go to this event. You can't go to that event. You can't work at our corporation. You can't do this. You can't do that. Meanwhile, they're dumping unvetted, criminal, illegal aliens into America. Zero health screenings. That's when you knew their COVID hysteria was bullshit. That's when you knew that their propaganda was bullshit. That's when you knew that the Democrats were full of shit. Not checking anyone, completely unvetted. Who is going to let somebody into your nightclub without checking the ID? Number one, you got to collect the cover charge. Because you know what? If you pay a cover, you're less likely to act a fool on the inside. It's the same like I said about my neighborhood. When you're permanent renters on the government dole on Section 8 housing, you don't give a shit. Your trash gets thrown around. It's someone else's problem. You don't care. You have no skin in the game, no vested interest. And that's why back in the days of the origin of America, the voters were landowners. You know why? The people that had skin in the game actually gave a shit. They would go above and beyond. They would volunteer their time. They would look outside their farm to try to help the community. They cared. You're dumped in from Haiti. What do you give a shit? Okay. You give me these credit cards that never run out of cash. You get entitled very quick. You have no skin in the game.
they are. So there's several of these programs that need to be eliminated, and we need to ensure that we're following legal immigration laws.
I'm glad you just mentioned CHNV. This is this is a mass parole program, of course.
CHNV is a mass parole program. I got to get caught up on that one. I just kind of got caught up on CBP1. CHNV, I got to envy. Interesting that it ends with envy.
As you know, our law allows parole in only very limited circumstances. There are two circumstances, and it requires case-by-case evaluation. The present administration, soon to be gone, has granted mass parole in direct defiance of the law, not case-by-case evaluation. The CA would pay for this kind of concierge service for illegals, I think, is outrageous. Will you end the use?
Okay, that was that. These clips are weird because they repeat, and it's kind of hard to exactly figure out when they repeat. But there you go, Honorable Kristi Noem.
Excuse my remaining seconds. Just one more thing about.
Hey, Department of Homeland Security, how are you going to be a secure homeland if they're allowing pot shots at your president? Huh?
The Secret Service. You've mentioned this, and I'm so glad that you did. This committee, and it has been bipartisan. This committee has done bipartisan work on the attempted assassinations, or the assassination attempts, I should perhaps say, of the former president, soon to be the future president, soon to be the president, President Trump.
I mean, now the president, his first not quite full week.
We were stymied at every turn. And I should use the present tense. We are currently being stymied at every turn by the current Secret Service leadership and, frankly, by the leadership of DHS, who have refused to turn over documents, who refused to make people available for interviews. We finally had to pass my own law in this committee, which we unanimously adopted, a law, a statute, mind you, which would require DHS and Secret Service to turn over relevant information to us about the assassination attempts. It's unbelievable. When you come to office, to this office, I hope very soon, will you pledge to us that you will open the books on all of the facts? Excuse me, my remaining seconds. Just one more thing about the secret.
Was there a second part to this? Anyway, I believe she says yes. I don't think they're going to ask that question if the answer isn't yes. All right, 2 more points here. Just, yeah, my buddy's from News to Share. Footage. Just remember, as we were out at the gulag when J6ers were being released, remember this footage? Breaking the windows and then pushing people that are telling them not to do that?
Do not go in there.
A radio journalist from Michigan was shooting video that day at the Capitol. What he captured were 2 most charitably called suspicious actors, but they are dressed in such a way that led him to believe that they were government agents. And one of them, after the windows had been broken by a protester, it was encouraging people to pull the rest of the glass out and go inside.
And I still don't know if we ever figured out who this was. Was it an inside job as well? I think it's obvious it was.
Bobby Powell, who was the journalist that had shot it, and he has his camera rolling, he told him that would be illegal and that wouldn't be a good idea. He warned people off not to go into that window. And then he turned his camera around and he caught this agent or suspicious actor pulling a large pane of glass out, this tempered glass. It kind of folds into itself, crunch onto the ground. When he realized he was being filmed, he quickly dropped it. It seems apparent on the video that he did not want to be seen doing what he just did. So he pulled in a protester and started blaming him. He said, "What are you doing breaking that window?" The poor fellow that was being accused didn't know what was going on. And then he gave him a couple of really good shoves and cocked his arm like he was going to punch him. We don't know his facial.
I would like to get to the bottom of that, and I think the investigation should have already begun. I know we have other things to do, but we should probably be launching this J6 investigation into the people that did the alleged investigation. All right, final story on the New American Media Oh, that was the last one. Okay. That was the last one, everybody. Wow. It is so easy to talk to you on these shows. This is the stuff I think all day long. This is the stuff I want to talk about. This is what I do anyway. I find these stories and I try to unpack them and figure out what there is to see. I'm going to wrap up today's Agree to Disagree show. I want to thank Kenneth and Deb and everyone else out there watching us on all the platforms. Once again, all the places you got to follow us. Here you go. YouTube. We're the New American Media. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, watch some of our previous content, share some of it, and comment on some of them. On Spotify, our podcast is there, the Agree to Disagree show. Brian, did you see the Marjorie Taylor Greene clip on J6 yesterday on X? She laid that woman out. Oh, yeah. Yeah. She's like, why are you asking me that question? Why don't you talk to me about this? Why don't you talk to me about that? Why don't you talk to me about this? I'm done with you people. Yeah, I think we covered it on yesterday's show. Yeah, by the way, Lauren Boebert came over when people were saying that the J6ers need to be released in the DC gulag, and she came out. I shot that footage. I don't know. It was weird. It was so cold. The battery went from like 76 minutes to 0 minutes and started blinking. I don't know. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. We're lucky to have some people that are fighting for the right stuff now, which it was great. It was absolutely great. Subscribe to our Rumble. We have our Rumble profile and our Rumble channel. I'm not sure if they're different, but we set it up as a Rumble channel now. People can do the super chats that way and give gifts. We appreciate that because it all adds up. Getting ready to do tax time, and it's like, oh my Lord. We traveled to DC and the Bronx. We went to the Bronx for the Trump rally. We went to DC for the Libertarian Convention. Got hotels there for a couple days too. Ugh. It ain't cheap, like $300-400 a night. Anyway, then we went to Milwaukee for a few days for the Republican convention, Chicago for the Democrat convention, and then DC for the inauguration. So yeah, any cup of coffee, man, it adds up real fast. Appreciate you all. But yeah, super chats and cool stuff on Rumble. So make sure you're following the New American Media on Rumble. That's a channel, not just the profile, the channel. On Patreon, if you want to help, we're patreon.com/the New American Media. On X at American_media_ on Truth Social, The New American Media. Instagram, The New American Media. Facebook, The New American Media. On Facebook, we also have a bunch of groups. TNAM's The Agree to Disagree Show. TNAM Animal Rescue, I think I talked about earlier today. TNAM Humor. TNAM Food and Drink. Food ampersand drink or food and drink. Food and drink. A lot of groups. We run a lot of groups on Facebook. But yeah, link up with us, and then on Signal and Telegram, TNAM and TNAM Chat. All right, this has been awesome. I appreciate every one of you. We're gonna get, jeez. I've been back for a couple days, and it's just I have all the unpacking to do. I got all the video uploading to do. I got laundry to do. It's a, whew. You know, I love going into the field. My God, it's like the world doesn't stop while you're gone. Scooping all the cat litter boxes and taking out the trash and the recycles and the compost, and it's just it's never ending. So while I should be relaxing and having a good day today, I'm going to be getting caught up on a lot of stuff that's been a little overdue, but it's all right. Such is life. That's the video game that we find ourselves in. It's a game of Sims. TNAM with him. I do not like green eggs in TNAM. I do not like TNAM AM. I do like TNAM. Yeah, we went live today after noon, so we couldn't do a TNAM AM show. But I've been getting in the habit of knocking these out in the morning, which has been pretty cool. I've been pretty consistent before noon doing these shows. But yeah, stay tuned. Thanks, Brian. Great show today. Thanks for joining us. Like I said, it makes the show so much better when we can play tennis with a real opponent, not just a brick wall. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Signing out for everybody out there in the TNAM universe. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Go Bills. And on the NFC side, Commanders versus Eagles. I don't care. I'd just like to see a good game. I want the Bills to win the Super Bowl. Hands down. Beat the Chiefs. Go Bills. Go Bills. Go Bills. And I will talk to you later. Take care. I saw that you prefer afternoon. Duly noted. I go